Alright, let's talk about some big government programs. You've heard the names: Social Security, SNAP, Medicaid. They sound complicated, maybe even a bit boring, but trust me, they are incredibly important. Think of them as society's attempt to not be completely terrible to its most vulnerable. First up, Social Security. This is the big one. It's primarily a retirement program. You work, you pay taxes, and then, when you're older and stop working, Social Security sends you a check. It's not a golden parachute, mind you. It's more like a slightly less rickety raft in the choppy waters of old age. It also helps people with disabilities who can't work, and families who've lost a wage earner. So it's a pretty big deal for a lot of folks. Next on our list is SNAP. That stands for the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program. It used to be called food stamps, which you might remember. Basically, SNAP helps people with low incomes buy food. It's not for buying giant TVs or luxury cars, despite what some angry people on the internet might tell you. It's for things like bread, milk, fruits and vegetables. You know, food, the stuff that keeps you alive. It usually comes on a card like a debit card that can only be used for eligible food items. The goal here is pretty straightforward, trying to make sure fewer people, especially children, go hungry in a country that has plenty of food to go around. It's a fundamental baseline of support. Then there's Medicaid. This one is all about healthcare. If you have a low income or certain disabilities, Medicaid can help you get health insurance. This means you can see a doctor when you're sick. It means you can get prescription medicines. It covers hospital stays if something really bad happens. Without Medicaid, millions of people would face a terrible choice. Go without medical care, or go deep into debt trying to pay for it. And let's be honest, medical debt is a uniquely American nightmare. Medicaid tries to stop that nightmare from becoming a reality for as many people as possible, ensuring basic health needs are met, which is vital for individuals and public health. So, these three programs, Social Security, SNAP, and Medicaid, are crucial parts of America's social safety net. They are not perfect, of course. No government program is. But they provide essential support for millions older adults, children, people with disabilities, and families just trying to make ends meet. They represent a promise that society will offer a helping hand when people are in vulnerable situations. Understanding what they do is the first step to understanding why any talk of cutting them causes such widespread concern and, frankly, a bit of panic. These aren't just acronyms, they are lifelines for a significant portion of the population. Now, why the long faces? Why are people worried about Social Security, SNAP, and Medicaid? Well, because there's almost always someone, somewhere, talking about cutting them. It's like a recurring bad dream. You hear whispers, then louder talk, usually from politicians, about how these programs are too expensive or unsustainable. Right now, in 2025, that talk is definitely in the air again. News reports pop up discussing potential changes, budget shortfalls, and the need for fiscal responsibility. And when politicians say fiscal responsibility, it often translates to less money for things that help people who aren't rich. It's a tale as old as time, or at least as old as modern budgeting. So, why is the government, or at least parts of it, considering these changes? The official reasons usually involve a few key phrases. You'll hear about the national debt getting bigger, you'll hear about budget deficits, which means the government is spending more money than it's taking in. And yes, the costs of these programs are rising. More people are getting older, so Social Security and Medicare, which is different from Medicaid but also important for seniors, payouts increase. Healthcare costs in general continue to soar, which puts pressure on Medicaid. It's a complex financial picture, no doubt about it, and these are genuine concerns for economists and policymakers alike. But, and this is a big but, it's also deeply political. Deciding how to spend a nation's money is always about choices and priorities. Some argue that tax cuts for corporations or the wealthy are more important. Others believe that military spending should never be questioned. And then there are those who look at programs like Social Security, SNAP, and Medicaid as easy targets for cuts. They might paint them as handouts or sources of waste, fraud, and abuse, classic lines used to undermine public support. The truth is, these programs are incredibly efficient for their size, and fraud rates are relatively low, but that doesn't make for a catchy political slogan, does it? The future of these programs often becomes a political football, especially during budget negotiations or election seasons. One side might propose reforms that involve raising the retirement age for Social Security or adding stricter work requirements for SNAP and Medicaid. The other side might argue for expanding benefits or finding new ways to fund them, like increasing taxes on higher earners. This constant back and forth creates a lot of uncertainty and anxiety for the millions of people who depend on these programs. They are left wondering if the support they rely on today will still be there tomorrow, which isn't exactly a recipe for a calm and stable life. So, who exactly are we talking about when we discuss people relying on these programs? Let's start with Social Security. The most obvious group is older Americans, retirees. These are people who have worked their entire lives contributing through payroll taxes with the expectation that this support would be there for them. For many, Social Security is their primary source of income in retirement. It's the difference between having a roof over their head and not. It's also vital for people with significant disabilities who are unable to work, providing a crucial income stream. And let's not forget surviving spouses and children who receive benefits if a working parent dies. It's a broad net. Then you have SNAP and Medicaid. These programs serve a wide range of people, but they are particularly crucial for families with low incomes, especially those with children. Think about a single parent working a minimum wage job, trying to feed their kids and keep them healthy. SNAP helps put food on the table. Medicaid ensures that if a child gets an ear infection, they can see a doctor without the parent having to choose between medicine and rent. People who have lost their jobs, individuals with chronic illnesses, and people with disabilities also heavily rely on these supports. They are not other people. They are our neighbors, our friends, and sometimes even ourselves during tough times. Now imagine what happens if funding for these programs is significantly reduced. For Social Security, cuts could mean smaller monthly checks for retirees. For someone barely getting by, even a small reduction can be devastating. It could mean choosing between paying for prescription drugs or buying groceries. It could mean having to sell a home or move in with relatives. Raising the retirement age means people would have to work longer, even if their health is failing. These aren't just numbers on a spreadsheet. These are real hardships imposed on people who thought they had a secure agreement. The anxiety this creates is immense. And what about cuts to SNAP or Medicaid? The consequences are just as dire. Less money for SNAP means families go hungry, or they have to buy cheaper, less nutritious food, which has long-term health impacts, especially for children. Kids can't learn if they're hungry. For Medicaid, cuts could mean people lose their health coverage. They might skip necessary doctor visits, leading to preventable illnesses becoming more severe and more expensive to treat later. People with chronic conditions might not be able to afford their medications. It's a ripple effect. Sicker people, more stressed families, and ultimately, a less healthy and productive society. It's penny-wise and pound-foolish in the most tragic way. Okay, so things might seem a bit grim. When vital programs are on the chopping block, it's natural to feel worried or angry or even a bit helpless. But here's the thing, doing nothing is not a great option. The first step, as always, is to stay informed. Pay attention to the news, but try to get your information from reliable, non-sensationalist sources. Understand what specific changes are being proposed. Are they talking about eligibility requirements, benefit amounts, funding mechanisms? Knowing the details is crucial because the devil, as they say, is always in the details, especially when it comes to government bureaucracy. Next, and this is important, use your voice. Contact your elected officials. Yes, actually contact them. Send an email, write a letter, make a phone call, tell them your story. Explain how these programs, or potential cuts to them, affect you, your family, or your community. Politicians, believe it or not, do sometimes listen to their constituents, especially when they hear from a lot of them. Your personal story can be far more impactful than a dry statistic. Remind them that they work for you, and these programs are lifelines, not bargaining chips in a political game. Organize, join advocacy groups, make some noise. While you're making your voice heard on a larger scale, also look for local support if you're directly impacted or worried about future impacts. Many communities have food banks, free or low-cost health clinics, and nonprofit organizations that can provide assistance or guidance. These local groups are often on the front lines and can offer practical help and resources. They might also be involved in local advocacy efforts you can join. Don't be afraid to ask for help if you need it. That's what these community supports are there for, to bridge gaps and provide a safety net when the larger one feels shaky. Finally, make sure you understand your current eligibility for these programs. If you think you might qualify for Social Security, SNAP, or Medicaid, apply. Official government websites like ssa.gov for Social Security or your state-specific sites for SNAP and Medicaid are the best places to get accurate information and application details. Ensure you're receiving all the benefits you're entitled to right now. Keep an eye on official communications for any changes that might affect your benefits. It's a confusing landscape, but being proactive and informed is your best defense in these uncertain times. And remember, these programs exist because people fought for them. The fight to protect them continues.